Welcome to Geared Up, brought to you by National Car Rental. I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Andrew Edwards.
All right, we have got, well, let me just say this, Andrew.
Say it.
It's showtime.
Yes, it is. That's right. It's almost showtime.
That's right. So tell folks what we're referring to.
We're referring to Apple's upcoming March 25th event, which they have entitled, It's Showtime. 2 words, showtime, not one.
Nice. So we're going to talk about that on the show today. Plus, Andrew's latest smart home technology
Purchase.
in his house.
Yes.
Which, after talking about it prior to starting to record, I'm pretty convinced I'm going to get.
It's so cool.
So
yes.
Stick around for that later on in the show. Plus, you're not going to believe what Microsoft is going to be taking out of the Xbox One.
Right. Another one. Another version of the Xbox One is coming.
That's right.
Yes.
All right, so all of that's coming up on Geared Up. But first, let's jump in with the Apple news.
Apple news. All right, so March 25th is upon us. It's near. It's Apple's fairly annual spring event. And this year, the event invitation says it's showtime, and I mentioned earlier, 2 words, not one, showtime, which implies that they're going to finally be unveiling the long-rumored Apple video subscription service. So this would be similar to a Netflix or a Hulu or an HBO Go, Apple's version. So Apple's spent a lot of money over the past few years commissioning shows, movies and shows, to be, stockpiled, I guess, for the launch of their new service. And so that's probably going to be the main event of this next Apple event.
So when you're talking about this, is it Apple's Netflix, or is it just a subscription service for the crap that they've been putting out already?
No, it's going to be...
Because it has been a lot of crap. Really?
There has been... Pretty much everything's been crap, I think.
Yes.
So there's the Carpool Karaoke, which was super popular.
On
right?
James Corden.
On James Corden, then all of a sudden, Apple buys it and removes James Corden, which was like, he was the main... Wasn't he the main reason to it's his
Yes.
his comedy is what made the whole segment great.
Yeah.
So they removed him.
And then what was the app one where they were searching for the next great
Planet
app?
of the Apps.
Yeah.
What a stupid title for a show. But it was a reality show. It was almost like Shark Tank for apps. And what would happen is they had, I believe it was an escalator pitch instead of an elevator pitch. And the person who made the app had the judges in front of them, and they would get on the escalator, and as the escalator went down, they had to give their pitch. And by the time they got to the bottom...
The escalator pitch? Is
yes.
that what it's... Because we did that, we did that at GeekWire, did the elevator pitch.
Right, the elevator pitch. That's different.
What makes it, but the escalator
The escalator pitch is a little silly.
Higher stakes, shorter time.
Right. So by the time you got down to the bottom of the escalator, you had to be done with your pitch, and then you would get, the judges would critique you, and maybe they'd work with you, maybe they wouldn't. Stupid show, not that great.
But this is not that. The streaming service is not that.
This is not that. This is, Apple has, they have people like Steve Carell, and, I can't even remember them all. Basically names that are world famous.
J.J. Abrams, Jennifer Garner.
Thank you.
Oprah Winfrey.
Yes. So all of these people are working on either shows or movies for this new Apple service. And so the idea is, now obviously we don't have all the information, but either Apple's going to charge you, let's just say $10 a month, for access to their version of, I would probably consider it mostly like HBO, because HBO is pretty much, they do all of their shows and their documentaries and movies, and they do have, ones that they license to put on there as well. I don't know if Apple's going to be doing that or not, but at the very least, they're making their own content, movies and TV shows, series. They'll probably charge for it. The current question is, will it be rolled in like currently the shows you just mentioned that are already out, the not so great ones? They're part of Apple Music. So if you subscribe to Apple Music, you get to watch those shows as well. And they do have other things in there as well, like some good documentaries they've done. So will this be rolled into that? So for $10 a month, you get TV, shows, and music, which is cool. Or will it be separate from Apple Music? That's one question. They are also working on another service, so not just the TV shows and movies, but a different part of their business would be that they're also going to announce is the news subscription service. So they bought the app Texture, the app and the company Texture, several, almost a year ago, I think. And Texture is an app where you pay $10 a month and you get unlimited access to every newspaper and magazine that has an agreement with Texture. So Apple bought them, and the other rumor is that will also be announced here at this event. So Apple will have another thing to charge you $10 a month for, or whatever they end up charging, and that would be for newspapers and magazines. I don't know how relevant that is in this day and age. I mean, you're in the news business. What do you think of that?
Well, the whole Apple News app already
Right.
serves an interesting purpose, and I end up being able to read enough through that
Yes.
that it's combined with other things that I'm reading on the web. I don't know that I would necessarily pay for a magazine service. It would
Are there
have
any
to be,
magazines you read right now? Like,
I tend to pick up magazines in the airport for the plane when there are the moments when.
so when you need to pass the time,
Yeah, exactly. Wired, Fast Company.
but not.
Oh, I love People Magazine. I'm a
Get
huge
outta
People
here.
Magazine fan.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Yeah,
What?
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
You're
Actually, Us Weekly is one of my favorites.
you're trolling me right
No,
now.
I'm not. I'm serious.
You read the tabloid? Would that be a tabloid?
Not really. No.
What do you call? It's like
It's more of a celebrity gossip.
I didn't know you were
magazine.
into celebrity gossip.
Oh, sure.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, well, human interest features. People actually was cited in some of my journalism classes because they have a specific formula that they use in articles, in profiles about people, or at least they did back in the day. That is a classic profile, and it's like something like GOS. There's like an acronym that they use, like goals, obstacles, solutions, start. Or I forget what it was, but it's like you look at people's articles, and they are a textbook example of a specific type of
Wow.
journalism. Yeah, there's a
Okay.
reason why they can write them so short. At any rate, way off topic. I would potentially subscribe if it was going to replace some of my airport purchases,
Yeah.
I guess. But it's not like a thing that I would be actively looking to do.
Yeah.
I'm way more excited about the AirPods.
Okay, so hey, don't move on to hardware just yet. Don't move on to hardware
Okay.
yet. So we've got Apple TV and movies. I don't know what they're calling these things. We've got Apple News and magazines, so newspapers and magazines. There's also a rumored Apple game service. So apps, you pay a certain amount per month and you get access to a bundle, almost like the Xbox Game Pass. It's
Yep.
basically the Xbox
Yep.
Game Pass for iOS. You have a bundle of games you can access. You don't have to worry about in-app purchases or any of that stuff. You just play whatever games you want that are a part of the bundle. So that's 3 different subscription services, and we keep saying services. Apple has been talking so much about services growth. They need to grow their services. They need to become more of a services company and less of a company dependent on selling the iPhone and other hardware. And so this event is going to be them stepping more into that role. And so what I am most curious about is if they're going to have multiple things you can pay for, games, music, TV and movies, newspapers and magazines. That's 4 different subscription services right there. And will the TV and movies service also have a live component? So can you cut the cord and replace that and get your live TV as well? I don't know. Will Apple do what I think is a smart thing and have some sort of Amazon Prime-ish approach to where they say, we have all these services, but if you pay the one price, you save, you get access to everything, and you even get, 100 gigs of iCloud store. Like, throw everything in. If you want to be all in with Apple's ecosystem, here's the ultimate way to do it for this one price.
It makes total sense, in part because Apple is starting to make more and more money from these services.
Yes.
Bigger part of their business, and it would be silly, actually, to keep it piecemeal.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that they would maybe make more money in the short run, but long term, it's so much more convenient to just sign up once and then. The Amazon Prime model, I think, has been proven to be the canonical example of what you should do when you have these multiple services in one subscription. By the way, since we're recording this, I can tell you something that I know will be public by the time this episode airs.
Okay.
Unless we're super fast on the edit.
No, okay, what's happening?
So this afternoon, March 12th, Microsoft is announcing that Minecraft is coming to Xbox Game Pass.
Is that a big deal?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. So so Minecraft is not currently on the Game Pass, the Microsoft subscription service. And so essentially they're going to roll that out to Game Pass beginning on April 4th. And so you don't have to buy the game. You can just basically subscribe to the service, get on Minecraft. To me, it's interesting because Microsoft has been shifting more and more to the subscription model, and here you have this big acquisition that they did of Mojang. How do you say that?
I don't know. Mahjong? I thought it was Mahjong.
I've heard it both ways.
I don't know.
I've heard it both ways. And anyway, that's a whole other thing. Anyway, that is some news about the Game Pass, and that's part of the series of gaming announcements Microsoft's going to be making.
Yeah.
So, but bigger picture, Apple is going to be competing with some pretty well-established services in each of these areas.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting that people have been clamoring for so long, like, I want to cut the cord, because let's just say Comcast is so expensive. I want to cut the cord, and I want to be able to piecemeal stuff together. I just want to get what I want, right? But it seems like nowadays, you cut the cord, and then you need the Hulu subscription, and you need the Netflix, and then you need the HBO because you want to watch Game of Thrones. Now you're going to need the app, and all of a sudden, you cut the cord, and you look at your monthly bill, and you're paying just as much, if not more, as you were paying to the cable company.
Right.
So you're not really saving money at all.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about the hardware in this?
Yeah, there's also going to be some hardware.
Yeah, so they think that the AirPods are going to be
The
coming.
rumor is that aside from the services, that we will be seeing a new version of AirPods. AirPods 2 or the AirPods Next Generation. New AirPods are coming, and you just bought some.
Yeah.
So
this
is terrible.
People on the show, I'm sure, are sick of hearing about my AirPods, so we can move on. But the main thing is, the rumors have been new color, black.
New color, yep.
New texture that will make them stay in your ears longer.
Yes.
And health, like they're
health tracking.
Basically monitor your heart rate or something from
measure
your
your heart rate from your ears, and a couple other things as well. So yes, also Hey Siri support. So you don't have to touch or double tap. They'll just always be listening for Hey Siri when you have them in. So, and wireless charging.
Oh, right.
So the new wireless charging case, so that you can charge them using Qi charging. One thing I heard was that Apple, a lot of Apple's, a lot of Apple's accessories fast charge, like super fast charge. Like if you get the Beats headphones, for example, if they die, plug them in for 15 minutes and they're 80%, you can use them for 20 hours again. So one rumor is that you can fast charge these to where if they die, you put them on a wireless charger for, I think it was 5 minutes, and they're back to 80% capacity. It's ready to go. So charging is even almost becoming a negligible thing you don't even have to wait for anymore. So that's cool. The Air Power Mat is supposedly coming.
This is
you remember that thing?
Yeah, I think this was back in 2009, right? That we first started talking about this.
It was announced alongside
2016,
alongside the iPhone 10. So that was 2017. 2017 they announced it. They said it was a 2018 product.
Yeah.
We're now 3 months to 2019. We haven't seen it. We haven't heard anything about it. But this is the mat where Apple wants to allow you to place your devices anywhere on the mat. So you take your AirPods, you take your Apple Watch, you take your iPhone, drop them anywhere on the mat, and they'll just start charging. You don't have to find the sweet spot. And your iPhone screen, if your iPhone is charging, will show you the charge status of everything else that's on that mat. So you can see the charge state of your watch and your AirPods as well as your phone.
Almost like it does now when you flip open your AirPod case.
Correct.
It pops up as a little toast.
Yes. So there's some magic there, and there was they just couldn't get it to not overheat, apparently. So they've been working on, because they have so many coils in there to allow you to place your devices anywhere you want and have them charge. Apparently they've worked it out, and that's coming too. Again, just the rumor. Don't know if that's going to happen for sure. And then we're also likely going to see some small upgrades to the entry-level iPad line. So not the iPad Pro. The $329 iPad should be getting the latest processor. And the iPad Mini, which I thought they had abandoned because we haven't seen a new iPad Mini for several years. Yeah. I think it's been 4 years. Will likely also be brought into the new millennia and get modern hardware internals as well. So,
at the risk of testing everybody's patience out there, I gotta say there is a new twist in my AirPod story.
I
was sitting in our easy chair in the living room.
Okay.
With my so for people who missed this, I lost my AirPods. My wife told me I could never get AirPods again if I lost them when I got them, and she sort of gave in and let me get a new pair. Sounds weird to say. Anyway, she agreed not to be angry at me if I got a new pair. That's what I say. So I was sitting with my new pair in the easy chair in our living room, and one of the AirPods, I was putting it in my pocket, and it kind of slipped and it went down into the crack in the chair. And so I'm like, so I like get the chair, I turn it over. And guess what's underneath the chair?
Don't tell me your old AirPods.
My old AirPods.
Your old AirPods were there.
In the case, and so therefore I couldn't, that's why they couldn't be located by Find My iPhone. When they're in the case, Find My iPhone does not work.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, swear to
God. Are
God.
you sure about that?
I'm almost positive. Do you have yours with you?
I do.
Okay, we'll test it when we take a break.
Okay. Wow.
So at any rate, now my wife has my old AirPods, and I in the meantime had bought my mom another her own, and so now we've all got our AirPods.
So your wife got the AirPods that you either just bought or the ones you just found.
The one she was like, these are cool. The ones that we found.
Yeah.
She's like, these are great. I'm gonna take these.
So when was this?
A couple weeks ago.
So she's been using them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, she loves them.
So now, if she were to lose her AirPods, do you think
she's not that?
No. I was hoping that it would have been.
I can't lord that over.
I was hoping it would have went full circle.
All right. Okay. Hey, we are going to be back with some more smart home news. Maybe something to find things. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. That's coming up next. You're listening to Geared Up. Welcome back to Geared Up. It's time for the National Car Rental Story of the Week. A big thanks to National Car Rental for sponsoring Geared Up. And be sure to check out Andru's show, Technically Speaking, on the nationalcar.com control center or youtube.com/nationalcarrent.
Yes, that is my other show where I
Yes.
talk about some of the best tech for travelers. So if you're a business traveler or you're going on vacation and you want to use tech to make your vacation better or easier or more efficient, that's the show where I basically talk about the gear you should take with you.
It's a great show, and I've actually had a chance to see you record it in person.
Yes,
and
live.
you just basically move right through every product. It's really cool.
Well, I try to keep my ear to the ground when it comes to tech.
Absolutely.
So try to make it easy to, go over things. But yeah, if you want to know more about tech that helps make your life easier when you're traveling, Technically Speaking is a show for you.
That's at the nationalcar.com control center or youtube.com/nationalcarrent.
Go national, go like a pro. Wait, what? Oh. The latest tech puts you in a driver's seat. National Car Rental's Emerald Club will keep you there.
Go national, go like a pro. I'm an Emerald Club member. Still.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Still free.
That's right. All right, so this week's National Car Rental Story of the Week is...
We are talking about smart home tech this week, and in particular, a piece or multiple pieces of new tech that I got installed in my home recently. It is the Serena Shades. These are smart shades.
Okay, I'm fascinated by this. I think I might be going down this route.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about these shades, and if you were just starting to look into this, because this is like next level stuff.
It is next level. So it is more of an investment than pretty much almost any other smart home thing you will get, because shades, just by their nature, are pretty expensive. Any window treatment is expensive. So you go to the website, and it's serenashades.com, and you need to get your windows measured. Now, you can have a professional measure them, or you can measure them yourself, but all the measurements have to be within 1/16 of an inch. So you need them to be pretty precise.
Wow.
Because you want them to fit, properly and nicely.
Not you can't use Apple's Measure app.
No, or the Measure app. You don't want to do that. No. So we had measurements done because we had recently bought just normal old smart blinds. Now, these smart blinds, when I say old, they're still they're modern, but they were slow and loud. So when you raise them, it would be like, it would take 30 seconds, but it's still going automatically, so it's cool. But it's this isn't the most elegant thing I've ever seen.
It's like a drawbridge growing up.
Right,
in your living room.
exactly. So you go to serenashades.com, you put in the room, and then you put in the measurements for your shades, and you pick your colors and all this. Then it takes several weeks because they're actually cutting, they're not hand, but they're custom making the shades for the sizes of your exact windows. And so it takes a few weeks to arrive. Once they arrive, installation, pretty easy. Now, I am not a handyman, so I did not want to install them, but I just called my neighbor who is, he likes doing all sorts of home projects. So I called, hey, could you help me install these? He came over. It probably took him 5 minutes per.
Really?
It was very easy. Like you just a couple screws and you just snap it in and you're done. Like
Nice.
so simple. They use batteries, so they use D batteries. So they're so easy to just like flip down if you need to change the batteries out and just flip it back up. You're good.
So you're not worrying about wiring to the electrical system
Correct.
or anything.
Correct. No, you don't have to do any of that. Once you have them up, like they're installed, there's a button on each one that syncs them to a bridge. So you have it's almost like a router, but it's just for these. So you plug this into your home network somewhere, and this is what it communicates with. So you plug this in, and this allows you to use your smartphone to control them, or you can do things like use Siri or Alexa or the Google Assistant. And that's the magic, because since they're HomeKit compatible, it's not just asking questions or making requests, which you can do. You can do things like, open or close, of course, but you can also do like open them to 25% or close them halfway, things like that. But you can also tie them into your routines. So for example, one routine might be at sunrise, open all the blinds in the living room, just automatically. Or at sunset, close the one blind that like faces the street. When the sun goes down, close the one where people are walking by your house and looking in. Or you can do it to where like I have one where I say good night. So hey Siri, good night. Hopefully it doesn't go off. Okay. When I do that, it turns all the lights off, closes the garage door, locks the front door, and closes the shades.
Wait a second. So did you just say at sundown? In other words, it could change it depending on what the weather app or what
Correct.
Siri's understanding of the sunset is?
In your precise location.
Wow.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
that is cool.
Yes.
That is really cool.
So yeah, so this is great. Like, so you have all these. The cool thing about this, at least for me, is I have a bunch of smart home tech in my home. I have lights, I have the door lock, I have the garage door. There's something cool about the shades because you're changing the physical look of your home with just a voice command.
So to me, this would be awesome when I was traveling, really. I mean, like
Yes.
if I was on the road, and I'll do this, like I'll set up specific scenes that I wouldn't use in my day-to-day life just for when I'm not home. Just to, like I think about, okay, what time should the light appear to come on to somebody who was maybe casing my house?
Right, yes.
You know what I mean? So for me, they would be, well, maybe it'll become so common that people will know, oh, they're just controlling it with, Serena Shades or
Sure.
But still, right now, like if your shades are going up and down, I think the general assumption from somebody walking by is that, hey, somebody's home.
Yeah, especially when you have your shades going up and down and you have your lights doing different things at the time of day. Now, the cool thing is, like, with a lot of these, when you're setting scenes, you can even say, like, I want it at sundown, but I want it, like, within the hour, randomly. So I don't want it always at sundown.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, so every day it'll be, like, somewhere within that hour, do this.
Is that specifically to outsmart people who might be...
Correct, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's
Oh my
random.
God. Okay, you just sold me. Now, obviously, we're talking about this one brand, Serena, but there's others out there, too.
There's others. So the thing is, so I've used two brands. There's not a lot of shades like this that connect to HomeKit, Google Assistant, and Alexa. And that's always it should be anybody's. That's like that's my gold star, right?
Right.
If you can do any smart home system, any smart assistant, then that's what I want. I don't want the one that just does Alexa or just Google or just Apple.
Because you're locked in.
Exactly.
For you, it's because you have all those things probably.
Right,
in your
correct,
house. But
correct.
for somebody else, maybe they've got an Echo now, but they want to get a Google
Exactly.
Assistant.
You want to change in the future. So I want something that works with all of them. And these are the most elegant. Like I said, like it's smooth. So I didn't mention that. You ask it to do something, it opens, it's silent. It's silent and fast. And I even have one, you've seen like when people have a backdoor slider.
Yeah.
So I have a big slider back door. So I have one covering that whole thing. So that's like from the floor to almost the ceiling, which that obviously gets heavy because it's so big, right? Still smooth, quiet, and fast. It just raises and lowers. You can barely hear it. It's so nice.
How much does this cost?
So that's the thing I can't tell you how much it costs for you because it depends on like what is the size of the window treatment you want to cover versus the one I want to cover. I did multiple. How many did I do? I think I did 1, 2, 3. I think I did 6 of these, and the price there was a couple $1,000s.
Okay.
For 6.
And if you're thinking about shades, blinds, I mean, they're not going to be cheap to begin with.
Right? No, they're not. That's the thing.
I don't know what I've never bought them specifically with well, I've never bought a set of them for the house. I've always moved into places that had them. And
Right.
Sort of,
So if you were to buy them, so that's the thing is, if you were to buy them, it's not that much more when you buy something like this. It's not that big of a price difference because these things are expensive anyway.
okay. All right.
But they're really nice. If you're looking for a cool smart home upgrade that, like, to me is like, it's not just cool but it's functional, check it out, SerenaShades.com.
See, I like this. Yeah, there's multiple reasons why I like this. Okay. All right. I appreciate that, Andrew. Okay,
Yes.
good. All right. Coming up next, we are going to be talking about the new Xbox.
Another new, but it's the new old Xbox. It's not the new. It's not a new generation of Xbox.
And what's notable about it is what it does not have.
Correct.
All right, that's coming up next on Geared Up. Welcome back to Geared Up. It's Todd Bishop with Andrew Edwards. And Andrew, this is kind of how you got into technology in the first place. Was it, because you were always a big gamer, right?
Yeah, I was, yes, since I've been a child.
I remember, like, the first time I met you was at the original Mind Camp south of
Oh, yeah.
Seattle. And
Wow.
you did, because it was a sort of an unconference
Yes.
where everybody got to pick their thing, and you ran this.
Yes.
Remember, your son was there at the time.
That's right.
It was like, it was probably
Like
less than
1 or
10,
2
yeah,
or something?
Yeah, at any rate, one of the unconference sessions that you led was on consoles, game
Wow.
consoles, like the.
I don't even remember this.
Yeah, I remember because that's like I think this is probably the first time you and I chatted about tech.
Okay.
At any rate, you go way back with
Yes.
this stuff, as do many people. But you've been paying attention to this. The new rumor is that Microsoft's Xbox One is going to have a new version.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, which
Weird.
basically
Weird name.
means who knows if that's going to be the real name. This is a
It sounds very Microsoftish though.
it's very old Microsoft.
Windows Phone 7 Series,
Yeah.
10. Yeah.
So this was a report from Windows Central, and they're saying it could be coming out as soon as May. And the notable thing about this is it does not contain an optical disk drive.
Right. And what that means is you cannot put a DVD in it or a Blu-ray disc. No disc. Discless. A discless Xbox One S.
That is a very hard word to say.
Yes, it is. So first of all, what sticks out to me, it is not an Xbox One X.
Interesting. Okay.
So it is not the the most powerful one that they make is not going all digital. This is the entry-level one.
And now that makes total sense to me because essentially what you're going to be doing here is streaming or downloading the games, I would
Yes.
assume.
Right.
So if you had to meet the specs of the HDR,
Right.
all that stuff that the Xbox One X has that I knew back in the day, but I've
You've since forgotten.
you would have a big file.
Sure, yes. I mean, you'll still have big files because you're downloading these games. I'm wondering if they're launching a streaming gaming service alongside it. I'm not sure if they are.
Can you
I know
explain,
they're working on one.
Can you explain this to me? When somebody says streaming game service, how does that differ from downloading something from an online marketplace?
So if you download a game, Minecraft, you download Minecraft, you've downloaded the full version of Minecraft to your Xbox, and your Xbox runs the game off of its internal or external hard drive, whatever you have connected to it. When you're streaming a game using a game streaming service, that game is running completely in the cloud. So the processing and all that is happening, let's just say in Microsoft's Azure or wherever they're running this, and they're just streaming like the video of, you know what I'm saying? So your Xbox and your TV just becomes the display, but what's actually running is actually running in the cloud and then sending everything to you.
So when you're tapping the controller, moving the joystick, the D-pad, hitting the buttons, it's sending those signals up to the cloud, then back, basically?
Right, and it all depends on the console, I guess, too, because the Xbox might download maybe a little bit of the game, so like it can keep some stuff local, but for the most part, it's doing all the processing in the cloud.
Okay. So this is the rumor that it's coming in May. What does this mean for the larger video game industry?
It's weird. So a diskless Xbox One S, I assume, first of all, means that getting into the Xbox ecosystem will be even cheaper. You're not going to charge more for an all-digital console.
Right.
So right now, the Xbox One S sells for $249. That's the retail price, and sometimes it goes on sale for $199. Is this new Xbox going to be $150? And if so, that's a pretty great deal for an Xbox console. Second, does it include like a year of Game Pass or something? Because you're going to need something to play, and you can't just go over to your friend's house or go to the flea market and buy a bunch of discs. It's just not going to work anymore. The one thing I do wonder is the current Xbox Ones that are available, you don't need to run games off of the disc if you have them on an external. Well, actually, no. I was gonna say you can run them externally, so you could plug in
I see.
to this new Xbox, but you still, if you're running a game that's disc, you still have to have the disc in the Xbox, so it knows you own it, so that you can't buy a game used in this case anymore. You have to go off the Xbox Marketplace.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like, this is kind of what they wanted to do.
With the original Xbox One launch.
Yes, this is kind of what they wanted to do.
Because the whole idea there and the controversy that happened at the time was that it was always on.
Yes.
Always connected.
Always connected console that allowed you to download games and even lend them out to people. So I could lend you my game. I could be in Seattle and you can be, in New York City. I can lend you my game. I then can't access my game until you are basically done. You send it back to me. That was such a cool concept, but so many people got wrapped up in the whole always connected. What does that mean? Now, it's funny because nowadays, I forget when the Xbox One originally launched. It must have been maybe 5 years ago or something.
Has it been that long
It's
now?
been a while. But nowadays, from when it launched, everybody's connected. Everything's connected now. Everything's always connected. Everything's always on. If they would have launched what they wanted to launch back then, today, did you look it up?
Yes, this is almost exactly 5 years ago.
5 years.
June 2014.
It makes such a big difference. 5 years later, I bet no one would care. But back then, they were so like, what do you mean? The privacy and all this and that. Now no one cares.
Well, it's funny because they like to say in the tech industry that one of the worst things you can do is be too early with a technology. And if you think about it, for a lot of people, they've shifted to much beefier broadband connections.
Yes.
Gig and
Right.
greater and symmetrical broadband. I think the whole thought of being connected all the time, the issue isn't so much being connected all the time, it's more about the privacy when you are connected because you're assuming you're connected and you just want to make sure that you're not being eavesdropped.
Spied on, right.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah,
Microsoft's getting interesting here because, I don't know if you heard this rumor, but they want the Xbox Game Pass to not just be an Xbox thing.
Yes.
It might be coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
So you might own a Nintendo Switch, subscribe to the Game Pass, open a Game Pass app on your Switch, and be playing Halo.
So this is the new Microsoft. All of this makes total sense within Satya Nadella's approach. They are trying to be agnostic of the hardware. Now, part of that is they have to be because they don't have a great phone. They don't have people on phones. And so the whole idea is, sure, they can have some flagship hardware in the Surface brand, but they don't want it to depend on. They don't want their experiences to depend on having their hardware there. And so, if you extend that to the game world, it shouldn't just be Windows 10 and Xbox.
Here's what confuses me, and maybe you can fill me and shed some light on me. If Xbox games no longer require the Xbox, right? You can get it on a Switch, you can get it on a Windows PC, maybe they want to do it on the next PlayStation, whatever. If they don't require the Xbox, then why would you buy an Xbox? What, are you devaluing the hardware brand of the Xbox by saying this game library can be played anywhere?
Maybe it wouldn't matter anymore, and maybe Microsoft does not care. Because historically, the place where Microsoft has lost money, and I haven't looked specifically at this in like the last year, but is on the hardware, or they break even.
Yeah.
So maybe they just don't care. If
make money on the games.
Exactly. So
services. We've been talking about services.
It's basically what Apple's doing.
Services is the new frontier.
Yeah, and the old frontier at the same time.
And the old frontier.
Well, if you look at companies that are making hardware, certainly that's where they're going to make their money is on the software and the services and the online experience. So in that way, it makes a lot of sense for Microsoft to be headed in this direction, and maybe the Xbox will just be an app.
Right. How crazy. This is almost as crazy as when the iPod became an app. I don't know if you remember that, but when Steve Jobs was first announcing the iPhone.
It's a phone. It's an internet communicator.
Right.
And it's an iPod. And they spun together and they were the iPhone.
Yes, people thought they were three different devices because there was the long rumor of we want a touchscreen iPod.
Yeah.
We don't want this wheel anymore.
Yeah.
And so when he showed the iPhone, he's like, if you want to be an iPod, you just tap on the iPod app. It's like the iPod went from being a hardware to just an app another app on your phone.
It's funny. I was actually at, I believe it was the iPod video unveiling.
Okay.
It's way back. I went down to San Jose and did that whole thing. And the invite that Apple sent out for the Showtime thing that we talked about in the first segment, it actually reminded me a little bit
really?
of what they did at the time. Yeah, I was going to mention that earlier, but there's maybe a little bit of hearkening back to that iPod. Is it iPod Video?
Yeah,
Is that right?
They did release an iPod Video.
Yeah, and it was a big deal at the time.
Yes.
It was like front page on USA Today.
Especially because Steve Jobs, just like 2 months prior, was like, no one's ever going to watch video on an iPod. This is crazy.
That's right. It was like a toaster kind of thing. Like, does your refrigerator make toast?
Exactly.
No.
2 months later, here it is. Yep.
At any rate, I think it's cool if they could make the entry price for a console cheaper. I think that is much needed. And, although I will say that one of the cool things is my daughter's friend who lives next door and is in class with her in the 2nd grade, he has a Switch. And so we trade games. So
just like the little cartridges.
Yeah, the little cartridges.
Right.
So I think there is a huge value just in that sort of analog.
I think so too.
Essentially, that analog world where you're
able
to swap games. And so what we've been trying to do is coordinate. Like, he wants a new game, and I'll be like, okay, well, I want a new game too. So like the next time you get a game, tell your dad to get this.
Yeah.
And I'll get this, and I'll get this,
funny.
and then we swap. So we're basically.
That's cool.
Yeah, not spending as much
sharing
money.
the library, basically.
Exactly.
That's nice. This whole Xbox news has me wondering, because the other rumor is at E3 in June, they're going to be announcing the next Xbox, whatever the successor to the Xbox One is going to be, will be announced at E3.
Well, isn't this it?
No, this is not. This is an Xbox One S.
Oh, I see.
This is an Xbox One S all-digital edition. It's the same power. It's not any more powerful. It's just it loses something. It's less powerful. But the new generation, the next generation of consoles will be, at least Microsoft's console, will be announced at E3. And it has me wondering now, what does that look like? What does the next generation of consoles look like? Do those have a disk drive? How powerful are they? If you're just going to be streaming games, like what is it going to be? And eventually, do consoles just go away?
Well, that's been the discussion for many years. Like, is this the last generation of consoles? And it just never seems to happen.
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be some segment of the gaming population that wants a dedicated, super powerful, and unified ecosystem too. I think that's important too. And obviously Valve has tried that with Steam. And at any rate, that in a different way. Obviously, they're trying to unify the experience across a variety of hardware. To me, the whole idea that people are still experimenting with new types of consoles is fascinating. And I'm much more of a console gamer when I do game.
Yeah, me too.
Than I am PC.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been one. I just want to sit on the couch and be relaxed. I don't want to be like leaning forward on my keyboard.
That's
I can't do that. Yeah, that's too stressful. Just let me sit back and relax.
All right, so a lot going on.
Yes.
And I think that's it for the show.
That's it.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. We will talk to you next time on Geared Up. Until next time, I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Andrew Edwards.